Hey folks, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel and get hype! Because we're doing a what I'll be watching / covering video. Because every Annie-tuber and their mother has to do one of these. I know, you're probably sick of seeing these. But at the same time, remember, like, this is just the buffer, you know what I mean? Like, this is just to get you hyped up for what we're going to be talking about going into the summer season. And admittedly, there are some pretty cool shows that we're going to be talking about going into summer season, plus some carryovers from spring, one of which was unfortunately pushed back, and the other one is just continuing into summer. But yeah, there is some stuff that we gotta talk about though. So right off the top, I do want to say thank you guys for helping me push the channel a little bit closer to that 25K goal that we have before the end of the year. I did want to preface this by saying thank you because we are at, I believe, 19,000 at the moment. So we're getting closer and closer. So I want to say a big thank you as we go into the summer season. We're looking pretty good. We're looking pretty good. Also, I did want to let you guys know that there is most likely going to be 2 Isekaiwa podcasts coming your way. We're going to be doing a spring final thoughts podcast as well as a start of summer podcast. And if you don't know what Isekaiwa podcast is, it's basically just me and my Annie-tube buddies get together, talk about our general thoughts on the season, show per show. And that's usually it's just a first impressions, 3 weeks into the season, we'll do sort of these first impression podcasts, but occasionally we do a final thoughts. And I did want to do a final thoughts on spring because it's been an interesting season, so I felt like maybe that would be something you guys might want to see. And the other big thing is not this week coming up, but the week following, it will be dead on the channel. It's going to be real quiet, but at the same time, that's sort of the time that I use as a wind down. It's sort of a double-edged sword, right? So again, not this week coming up, but next week, most of the shows will have gone off the air. They'll have had their finales the week prior. So again, not this week, but the week coming up, it's going to be relatively dead on the channel. It's just because there's not any real shows that are still airing. I think there's 1 or 2 shows that are going to have their finale during that week, but for the most part, it'll be quiet. It's, again, a double-edged sword. I like it because I can recharge my batteries a bit after the entire season is wrapped up. But at the same time, it's not great for the channel because the algorithm's like, he stopped posting, he must be dead. But that's enough behind-the-scenes stuff. You want to know what I'm going to be talking about this upcoming summer season. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into it in alphabetical order, starting with Balance Unlimited. What a shock. Yes, so Balance Unlimited, this coming to us from Cloverworks. They did Promise Neverland, which I love, Bunny Girl, which I love, and Franks, which I love the first half of. Obviously some notable staff being Tomohiko Ito, director of the original SAO seasons up until Alice's Ation, as well as directing Erased. And then you got Yugo Kanno on the composition side of things, conducting the music for stuff like JoJo's Part 3 and onward. I think his best work genuinely being Part 5. I think that soundtrack is amazing. As well as doing the music for Psycho-Pass, which I haven't personally seen past episode 2 of Psycho-Pass, but from what I gather, the soundtrack is pretty stellar. So it's good to have Yugo Kanno back. Now, you already know my thoughts on the first 2 episodes of Balance Unlimited because unfortunately this was the show that got pushed back a little while ago. Now, for the most part, I absolutely love Balance Unlimited. In fact, I would say not even the most part. All-encompassing, I love this show, and I was so gutted that it was taken away from us, but it's finally coming back. I don't know if they're going to be re-airing the first 2 episodes or if they're just going to jump back at the start of the season with episode 3. I'm not super sure. I would assume that it's going to be 2 weeks before we actually get episode 3 of Balance Unlimited. But keep your eyes on the channel, hit that subscribe button, because you'll know when Balance Unlimited comes out, because I will absolutely be making a video on it. This show is basically just everybody simps for Daisuke, and to a lesser extent Haru, the series. But yeah, you can bet your ass that I'm very excited for the return of Balance Unlimited. But we gotta move on now. The second show we're gonna be talking about this season is Decadence. Now, this is a series coming to us from Studio Nut, which is the best studio name ever. They're the folks behind Saga of Tanya the Evil, which I like. I really enjoyed Saga of Tanya the Evil, and I think some of the best parts was just the way it looked. The animation was really interesting. Color choice was really great. It had a very glossy look to it, but not in a bad way. It was just an interesting looking series. They also did FLCL Alternative, which unfortunately I am not familiar with. I think one of the 2 new FLCL shows people didn't like. I don't know. You'll have to talk to Hiding. I think Hiding knows a little bit more about that than I do. That said, some notable staff from Decadence and this is like the big reason why I'm watching. This was like don't get me wrong, we'll get into like some specifics about the story, but this is the big thing that I'm excited about, is the director, Yuzuru Tachikawa, who is the director of two of my all-time top 10 favorite anime of all time, Death Parade and Mob Psycho, both seasons. And I am so stoked. Tachikawa is a genius as far as I'm concerned. His direction in both shows, and like Death Parade in particular, was his baby. So the direction in both shows I just think is stellar. I cannot wait to see what he's going to do with this series. I believe it's an original series as well, so I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure Decadence is an original series. As for the plot synopsis, humans are nearly wiped out by creatures known as Gadols, or Gadol. I don't know if it's pluralized on its own, I don't know. But the remnants of humanity are surviving in this mobile fortress known as Decadence, separated into groups known as Gears, those who can fight, and Tankers, those who can't. And from what I gather, the thrust of the show, like the start of the adventure, is when two tankers end up meeting, one who's very like spunky and wants to eventually grow to become one of the Gears who fights the Gadol, and then there's another tanker who's like down on his luck, sort of a curmudgeon, who she sort of drags out and like back into being a Gear, I guess. Maybe he was like formerly a Gear, that's what I have to assume, because again, I will say on the surface, it seems sort of like, oh, of course, like the plucky young hero and sort of like the grizzled vets, and they help make each other better. I know that's a little bit generic, but at the same time, that's a basic setup because it works. So I'm excited to see what Tachikawa does with this series, what he does with the story. I'm just hyped. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm very, very hype. But speaking of hype, we got probably the biggest hype of the season, The God of High School. This is a series that I have been hearing about for ages. I remember being like, I was super young the first time I saw anything from The God of High School. And this is like something that's been around for a while, right? I remember like the first time I saw this dude, I thought it was somebody's fan art of like teenage Goku. Like that's what I thought at first. And from what I gather, it's gonna be like mostly just like an incredibly hype action series, which honestly I'm here for. Like I don't know how the story is, but from what I hear, the fight scenes in the series are dope, and Jin Mori, the main protagonist, is supposed to be really cool. So I'm excited to see more from this particular series, and also this is like the next step in the sudden reign of webtoons as anime. First we had Tower of God, which you all know I loved Tower of God. It's not wrapped up yet. We're getting the finale next week at the time of recording this. But you guys know how much I love Tower of God. So the fact that Webtoons is getting another series, and it's one that I've already heard people sing its praises, yeah, you better believe I'm excited, especially knowing that it's coming to us from Studio Mappa, who I love. I will admit, their recent output has had me sort of wanting, right? Now, I really got into Studio Mappa when they did Yuri on Ice. You guys know I'm a huge Yuri on Ice guy, and then Banana Fish, which I absolutely loved. And Dororo, whatever. Dororo was the first sort of step where I was like, okay, I liked the first half of that series, but it sort of started to stumble for me. And then there's just some other output that they did that just didn't really surprise me. Doro Hey Doro, I hear, is really good, but it was a little too dark for me, so I couldn't really get into it. So I hope this is where Mappa brings me back. And I feel like this is, if there was ever a series that they could pull me back with, it's gonna be this one. As for the plot synopsis, it's pretty simple. Jin Mori, self-proclaimed strongest high schooler, enters the God of High School tournament, where the winner is granted any wish they choose. So basically, and if you're a fighting game fan, you'll like this, but basically, it's rival schools meets Tekken. That's the setup, and honestly, I'm here for that. Like, the King of the Iron Fist tournament meets rival schools. I'm in. How could you not be in for that? It sounds awesome. I can't wait. The next show we're gonna be talking about in the summer is a surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one. Rent a Girlfriend. I don't know why I'm so hyped for this, but I'm genuinely very hyped. It could be just because like the setup sounds interesting, the main plot synopsis being, after a painful breakup, Kazuya is desperate enough to try out a girlfriend rental service but their lives end up getting entangled in a surprising rom-com-esque type of way. Now, again, much like the Decadence setup, that sounds generic, but the reason why that sounds generic is because 9 times out of 10, that story does work for people. There's a reason why things become generic is because they just work. And honestly, the setup for Rent-A-Girlfriend just sounds, again, very rom-com-y, but at the same time, pretty funny. Like, I like this idea of this, like, girl who's running this sort of, like, Rent-A-Girlfriend service and then ends up actually knowing somebody, like, bumping into somebody they know. That sounds funny. It sounds like a good setup for a lot of, like, quality, ecchi hijinks. I don't know if this is necessarily an ecchi series. It sounds like one, but I could be wrong. That said, it is coming to us from Studio TMS, who I adore lately. Like, a lot of people have always liked TMS. They did stuff like Megalobox and Relife in the past. Megalobox I enjoyed, but I didn't love as much as other people did. And Relife I just didn't get to check out. But TMS is behind things like Dr. Stone, which I absolutely love. And of course, Fruba, Fruits Basket, which is my current, like, oh my god, my heart sings every time I watch an episode of Fruits Basket, or breaks, depending on the episode of Fruba you're watching. But TMS just nails it, absolutely. And one of the other big reasons I'm excited, and you may call me simple, but this makes me legitimately excited, is the OP is being done by the Peggies, who, if you don't know who the Peggies are, they do the opening for Bunny Girl Senpai, and they did the ED for Boruto. And I'm just gonna level with you. I adore the Peggies. Their album Hell Like Heaven is so fire. Hell Like Heaven was like my workout album for a bit. It's just such a bop, and it's such a like an upbeat sort of album. It's so fire. I can't wait to see what they do with the opening. The next show we're going to be talking about this season, I probably used it as the thumbnail because it's the one I am most excited for, which is weird if you knew me a couple years ago, but it is, of course, Re:Zero Season 2. Now, okay, so White Fox is coming back. We got most of the staff, I believe, is all coming back. Kenshiro Suehiro, obviously coming back to compose. Suehiro's soundtracks, I think, are great. Stuff like Girls Last Tour, Goblin Slayer, and especially Re:Zero. Like, the soundtrack is so good. I'm so excited that all these staff members from Season 1 are returning for Season 2. I cannot wait. And honestly, and I'm just going to be real with you, because if you haven't seen it, I'll probably link it in the card above somewhere. And I'm really proud of this particular video, but I did this video on my quote-unquote complicated history with Re:Zero, because when I started making YouTube videos, I was really not a big Re:Zero guy. In fact, I was in my sort of like counterculture, not counterculture, but just like contrarian stage of my life, which I regret immensely, where anytime there was something popular, I would take like the opposite view. I was still trying to figure out who I was as an anti-tuber, so I thought maybe that could be it. And nah, man, just enjoy the stuff you enjoy, because deep down, I knew I was gonna like Re:Zero if I stuck with it, and lo and behold, I ended up falling head over heels for Re:Zero, especially like past like maybe the midpoint is where it like, I was into it, but there's a specific point that I won't spoil if you haven't seen Re:Zero, but there's this specific turning point for Subaru as a character where I'm like, oh, I get it. And like, that's where the series really took off for me. And Subaru is insane. Like, this series I almost view as much as a character study as it is an isekai. But that said, if you haven't seen the director's cut, do me a favor, watch the director's cut. If you've only seen season 1, I know you may have thought, like me, that, oh, well, the director's cut is basically just like an updated version of Re:Zero. That's cool. I'll check it out on my own and blah, blah, blah. And you kind of maybe put it off. No, go back, rewatch the director's cut. If you don't want to watch the whole thing, at the very least watch the last episode, because that leads nicely into season 2. And yes, there is stuff that you missed. So if you only saw season 1, you gotta go see the director's cut. Trust me. I'm really excited. Like, I'm not sugarcoating this. I am so hype to see season 2, because I missed out on the hype train that was Re:Zero season 1. I remember watching the internet tear itself apart over season 1, so I cannot wait to actually take part in that hype for season 2. I am super stoked. So the next show we're gonna be talking about is the Misfit of Demon King Academy. I can explain. Some of you might be like, huh? Hear me out, okay? Hear me out. So it's coming to us from Silverlink, which is, listen, if you're a Silverlink fan, I'm sorry, I might offend you a little bit, but I'm just, you know me, like I said earlier, I've come to realize that part of the reason why people might come to this channel is the fact that I'm open and honest with you, even if you maybe don't want to hear it. I am going to be always honest with my opinion. Silverlink is the most hit and miss studio I have ever seen. Sometimes, Silverlink can give us stuff like Hamefura, which is amazing, or Bofuri, which is weirdly hype and very fun. Or it can give us stuff like Masamune's Revenge and Death March, which are two shows that I think are some of the trashiest, most dumb, waste of time shows I've ever seen. That said, I still give them the benefit of the doubt because stuff like Bofuri and Hamefura are so hype, and Silverlink can really deliver, and even for shows like Death March and Masamune's Revenge, there's usually something there, you know what I mean? Like, there's something to Silverlink, so I can't knock them, but they can be very hit and miss. That said, this setup, listen, I raise my hands on this one. Before I used to be like, I hate isekai. I just kind of, listen, I know, and I know it's not an isekai, but this is our, kind of, but not really isekai, this, weird new genre, where it's not an isekai, but it feels like an isekai. So, basically, the setup is Enos Voldegord, beautiful name, the Demon King, reincarnates after 2,000 years, so technically there is reincarnation. He reincarnates 2,000 years later to find the world he left behind has become weak and fragile, and so in an attempt to rise up once more and take over the world, he enters Demon King Academy, which has been set up since his departure from this world. But the thing is, nobody believes him that he's the actual reincarnation. In fact, they actually believe it's some other guy. And so in the ensuing chaos, hijinks ensue, I guess. It's not labeled as a comedy, but it certainly feels like a comedy, and the PV has some comedic beats. So I have a feeling like it might not be like a straight comedy, which is good. You guys know me, I'm not a fan of straight comedies. But it looks like it's gonna have some cool comedic elements to it. I'm hoping the people who animated stuff for both Furry are specifically on this. It kind of looked like it in the PV. There's some familiar looking smoke effects and impact frames. So I'm hoping the dudes from Bofuri come back for this one, like that particular team. But we'll just have to wait and see on that one. I believe the director's the same as Bofuri. I could be wrong on that. But regardless, this one, I'm just kind of excited. I did see a surprising amount of hype for this, so we'll see. I hope it's good. I think it's at the very least going to be fun. And that's really all I ask for. And the last show that we're going to be talking about this summer, not counting Fruba, is Sword Art Online Alicization War of Underworld Part 2. Now, some of you guys might be confused by that. But if you didn't know, I really like Sword Art Online. I do admit that it is a very flawed series, but I really enjoy it. And I think when it's great, it's amazing. And when it's bad, it's the most deplorable trash you've ever seen. But it's trash that I eat up happily. So yeah, am I excited for Alicization Part 2? Hell to the yes I am. Alicization as an arc, this has been essentially 4 seasons of Alicization when you think about it. Right? You had Alicization Part 1, which was one long split core series, and then you had War of Underworld Part 1, and now we have War of Underworld Part 2. So technically 4 parts to this one arc in Sword Art Online. And the fact that it's coming to an end is a bit bittersweet for me because honestly, Alicization I think is the high point of the series. Like, this is SAO with everything that I think works about the show. It's so interesting. And on top of that, of course, it's from A1, who I think A1, I was really cold on A1 in the past, but the more that I see from them, the more and more I warm up to them. Like stuff like Kaguya and Erased and stuff that I haven't even checked out yet that I plan to, such as Your Lie in April, I know, don't kill me, and Blue Exorcist, again, I know, don't kill me. I'm planning to check them out, okay? I'm planning to check them out. But also, you still have notable staff like Yuki Kadra, obviously, the absolute god queen, stuff like Yaiba, Unlimited Blade Works, Erased, absolute legend in their own right. I don't even really need to sing their praises. But yes, you still have everything that made SAO work in the past, along with the director who hopped on for Alice's Ation, who really seems to get a handle on the new characters, because it's the new characters that really shine. But at the same time, it's nice to see characters like Asuna kicking ass as well, and I'm very curious to see what's going to happen as the gang tries to rescue the kidnapped Alice from the clutches of the absolutely insane Gabriel Miller. I am very much looking forward to this. But that's pretty much all the shows that we're going to be talking about, including Fruba. That's 8 new shows this coming summer season. So one day out of the week, you're going to get 2 videos from me, and then a video a day, like usual, every other day. That said, there are some shows that I'm thinking about checking out on my own, such as Ozaki-chan Wants to Hang Out, Peter Grill and the Philosopher's Time, and Monster Girl Doctor. All 3 of those because they are ecchi, and sometimes I have trash brain. I know everybody thinks I'm the husbando guy, and that's true, because I like both. I am ace, but aesthetically, I like both. So I'm kind of in. All 3 of those series sound fun, at the very least. Ozaki-chan seems like one that maybe I'd cover, depending on how good I thought the first episode was. But actually, speaking of which, is there anything that you guys are super interested in that you think would do well to be covered on the channel? Let me know in the comments. I promise I will actually be in the comments this time, so tell the mods not to throw shoes at me, please and thank you. But with that said, everybody, that's going to be today's video, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot and share if you care. And as always, I have to give a big thank you to the beautiful people in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at these beautiful names. If you too would like to join these beautiful names, then by all means go ahead and check out that first link in the description to check out our Patreon page. For less than a cup of coffee a month, you can help keep this channel afloat, and I would sincerely appreciate that. Spring has been an interesting season, to say the least, and part of me is glad it's over, but part of me is going to kind of miss it, because I do think there's some stellar shows that we've been talking about. That said, I am very much looking forward to summer. I genuinely can't wait, so hopefully you guys are as excited as I am, and until next time, you stay classy, AniTube, and wash your dang hands.